Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of 502 Perspective. My name is Anya Devara, and today we are joined by three of some of my closest friends, Smaran, Srikar, and Adi. And before we begin this episode, shout out to Anchor for helping me make this possible. And if you haven't read, today's title for the episode is Rebounding from Corona. And just how is our life going to be different? But first, for the listeners, just for everyone to get used to everyone's voice, I want to let's just introduce everyone. So, hey, Smart, how are you doing?
I'm good. This is a new experience for me, so I hope it'll be fun.
That's cool. That's cool. What about Shrieker? How are you?
Hi, thank you for letting me be on this podcast.
And what's up, Roddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just excited to be here and
All
talk
right,
about Corona.
that's lit. All right, let's now. Okay, so obviously, coronavirus is literally the elephant in the room for any discussion right now, and just hit us so quickly and just literally changed our world upside down. So, first, what were your guys' first thoughts when you saw what coronavirus is doing? And for me, it was just like it took me like a week to like process what was happening. What about you guys?
At the
Um,
beginning, at the beginning when it all started in China, I didn't really think it would hit America that hard. But right now,
Yeah,
we're seeing that all the states are affected, and so many people are dying, and tons of people are going to hospital and getting infected.
I think
yeah,
everyone
yeah,
in America thinks that the technology is like so great so that the coronavirus wouldn't even impact them. But like after realizing that so many people have died, it shows how we still have to improve our technology and how we're still vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've never experienced anything like this in our lifetime. So when I saw it and I heard about it, I did not expect anything of like this scale to ever occur. So it's pretty surprising.
yeah. That's true. That's true. And it like actually when school went out, it just like realized to me that we're in quarantine for almost 3 months, and you know everything was just different. And now, so a lot of things are opening back up. Obviously, the malls, like public places. And do you guys feel comfortable going out by yourselves?
Um,
Um, kind of, but like I make sure that I'm like washing my hands and wearing gloves and like
Yeah,
wearing face masks
for
to make sure
sure.
like not getting it, and I try to limit going out like as much as possible.
For
yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
same here.
Yeah.
like I'm not really scared about like me getting it because like even if I get it, I don't think like the effects would be that bad. But I'm more scared about like giving it to people that, if affected, they would be impacted pretty harshly. So that's why I
Hmm.
try to take precautions as much as possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's
I
good.
honestly haven't been that concerned with it. Like, I went out today, and I obviously know it's a really big thing, and so I've been taking the necessary precautions. I just haven't been as concerned with it because it doesn't impact me as directly as it does most people.
Yeah, yeah. And so if we just flash forward to the point where we are now, JCPS has shown like has been talking about early starts, late starts, regular starts. Honestly, how would you guys feel if we had to do non-traditional instruction, which is JCPS's version of online school? How would you guys feel if we had to do that again?
Like at the first point, like, I'll feel kind of sad because like I won't be able to see my friends for like in like 5 months. It's been a long
Hmm.
time, and at the same time, I don't think like it's really effective as much as regular school. I'm scared like I won't learn like as much as everybody else.
It's a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
experience. Like when we first had to do it, like throughout March, April, and like May, it was there are some pros and cons. Like you could finish work really quickly, but you weren't learning as much. And even like we're going into sophomore year, that's like whenever we have to start pushing and pushing. So I wouldn't have liked it as much. And also we're not having the school experience, like high school experience, and we're just gonna be learning from online. So it would really
Yeah,
hmm
at
suck.
the same time, a lot of people's motivation has like decreased if it's online because like
Mhm.
there's a lot of ways to manipulate like turning it in, and like it's not as effective.
Yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
very
yeah, yeah.
disappointed if we had to start the year off like that, just because I myself am very excited to go back to school for sophomore year. So I think it would be a really bad start, especially considering how bad like the end of the year was for me. It was really hard to like keep track of assignments. The format was a little bit confusing, and it was just kind of annoying to get on a Zoom call every day. It was just not an
Yeah.
Also,
enjoyable
it
format.
it just shows how, we can't take school for granted because even though, yeah, it may be boring, but like it just it keeps us busy, and like, we see our friends, and without school, like, we experience this firsthand, like how much life would be different, how boring it would be.
Yeah.
And for me, like, not playing my sports at school, not doing my after school activities, not seeing my friends, it was just like, it really hit me that, like, I can't take school for granted even anymore. What about you guys?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
like at the same time, like when you're in the school year, a lot of people are being like, "Oh my God, we had to go to school," and like it's like so annoying. Like now we actually realize like how big of an impact school has like the big effect it has on us.
you realize like how much teachers have an impact on you and how much having them in the classroom and having like the board and everything set up helps you. Because like whenever I was in like quarantine, the teachers were teaching, but like not being there and looking at them and looking at the screen made it a lot harder to learn, and I couldn't learn as much.
Yeah, I felt the same. It was just very hard to adapt to the online format, and so teaching was a little bit different, especially when you had teachers who like were experiencing technical difficulties and couldn't start their like actual teaching till like an hour after they told you they would get on. So obviously like times were a little bit messed up. The way assignments were working was confusing a little bit. And so I just don't think it's a very enjoyable format for teaching, but obviously I understand that it's a necessity during this time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
think we all do. Like recognize.
there's also, oh, what were you saying, Smar?
I was saying like recognizing the effects of not having NTI and going back to school and how so, like we might have to go to NTI, but we have to realize that it's for the best.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah,
even
that's
if
but
it's
true.
like a month or two, we have to recognize that it'll probably save a lot of lives.
yeah, that's true. But I mean, I guess a lot of people are getting just comfortable to go outside. I know I am. Just like, going to the park and stuff is not as bad for me. But one thing's for sure is I think when we go back to school, it's gonna be kind of awkward just not seeing everyone for such a long time. Obviously, like, I'm meeting some friends here and there, but like, such a large group of people are our friends. And with the new safety precautions, I know JCPS is thinking of some like weird ways for us to wear masks and stuff. School's never just gonna be the same with all these new precautions coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I feel like the social interaction between different people is
Yeah,
definitely going to be awkward. But like I think we'll eventually adapt to it because like we spent a lot of time with them last year, so it'll
yeah,
take a couple of days, but we'll eventually like get back to the same groove we used to have.
But you'll
yeah.
never.
But
You can go. You can go.
no, I was gonna move on to a new topic, but like, smart and finish it off.
I was just saying, like, you never really know when like stuff will get back together, like get back to normal, and because you never know like when we're gonna have like a decrease in cases. Like recently in Kentucky, there's been like around like 300 cases a day, and
Mhm.
like you can expect it to increase. Like now there's more people going outside, so you never know when we're gonna actually go back to school. Like it might not be like even this year. We might go back to school like next year, just for the precautions. Because I think when people take in consideration what to shut down, schools are usually one of the first things because they prioritize the kids.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is very true.
All right, so let's move on. There's obviously a lot of good things that came out of quarantine. I feel like, anything from like new music to a lot of things that like people that we look up to are doing. And with new music, actually, if you guys want to talk about that, the intro of this episode you'll hear is the newest song by the Kid Laroi, Go. And Smarn actually brought me up on that. So, well, if you made it this far, obviously I couldn't put the Kid Leroy's new song at the intro. Didn't want to get copyrighted, but it's a good song. Go stream it. If we shift our focus, let's so again from our focus from a lot of things good coming out of Corona. What do you think has been your favorite thing that came, like some pop culture news that came up? You guys like been enjoying the new music?
Yeah, I think Smarn and I can both agree that the Kid Leroy and all the leaks that are coming out because of his like upcoming album have definitely got both of us excited. His new song "Go" is actually like it's very fire. I like it, and so does Smarn. And basically we both have that kind of shared interest in his new music, which is why I feel like it's just a very cool thing to have like these different artists still releasing music during this time, even though it's like a very, very hectic time. It's something to just keep us going, and it gives us some sort of like happiness and like some sort of fun during quarantine.
Yeah, I agree. Whenever you're at home, you like find yourself like kind of bored and alone, and like listening to music can help someone like a lot. Like I'm some people like literally have nothing to do at home and like they have no interaction with anyone. So like listening to music and especially the kid Leroy, I've been
Yeah,
like following him for like the last like 2 months like really deeply, and like
So is the Kid Leroy the next big
I
thing?
think so. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
He's
maybe.
16,
Yeah.
right? So
yeah,
he's like
he has time, and he's definitely already done a lot of crazy stuff. Like all his songs, all the leaks and everything. He's just a very talented person.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Eh,
relate to what Smaran said before, where like you have nothing to do. Like one time, like I was listening to music for like 2 hours straight, like it's like doing nothing, just staring at my computer. I was like, jamming to the music.
and without
what were you jamming to? What were you jamming to?
Like that time the Baby's new album came out, so like that was I actually
Yeah.
liked that a lot. And then like a few days after that, Take Future's new album came out. I liked Future's new
I
album
think
a
that's
lot.
kind of like interesting though, like the way boredom has kind of like popped up into all of our lives. I think boredom, while like none of us like it, it is kind of a very interesting concept because it is sort of a important thing because when we are bored, we start to think about different things and we start to like allow our
get
mind to like
creative.
relax and become creative and that kind of stuff, as opposed to like when we're in school and we're constantly flooded with work where we have like this like linear like sort of range of thinking and we're always focused on what's
Mhm.
coming next, like what homework am I getting tomorrow. But instead now we're not really focused on like the long term for most people. It's more just like what am I going to do for the next hour,
The
right?
present, yeah, like was focusing on like what's happening right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But okay, with music, but let me ask you guys, what new hobbies did you pick up? Well, obviously for me, starting this podcast was really fun, really entertaining, and I'm going into music production right now, and so these hobbies I think will be lifelong because they're just something I enjoyed. Have you guys picked up anything new?
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing I picked up was baking. Like my new interest for baking. Like I made a lot of different like desserts and like cakes, like banana bread, and a lot of other stuff. Which like actually it was a really good thing for me because like I found something that I really enjoyed that I never knew like I would actually enjoy before. I've also like
All
been
right.
like really interested in the stock market. So like I don't know if the quarantine never
Uh,
happened, I would like be into this. But like I'm actually that's like the only
yeah.
positive thing that came out for me.
Yeah, I've been into investing into and just looking at my mom, looking at the stock market and trying to create like a minor stock account. But right now I'm just doing like, paper trading, which is just like fake money and stuff.
Hmm.
But people listening, you guys should expect Shrieker to be a big baller soon.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Smart and Audie, what about you?
Um, I recently got an interest in like photography. So like I've always had like this interest in photography, but like understanding like all the different settings you can change because most people like to take pictures like in auto mode, so they're not that flexible and you don't get like creative. But after like taking learning some new things and watching some videos, I started to like look at all the different settings and let me be creative with my camera. So
All right,
Yeah,
that's
and
cool.
for me,
Audie,
I've
how
just
you
kind
doing?
of like I've been pretty bored, so I just kind of started picking and choosing where I should invest my time. So recently I've been kind of spending a lot more time on piano just because I felt like, what's the point of doing it if I'm not gonna like at least spend a decent amount of time on it and like be good at it. So I started upping the amount of time that I was practicing piano and I realized that it's actually like really enjoyable for me because it's just something I can do to relax and it's really fun to like listen and play and just practice. But also I think I recently started getting an interest in like just more like fitness related stuff just because quarantine is such like a amazing opportunity for all of us to sort of like start ramping up like the way we're actually like treating our bodies and stuff like that. Like I know Shrieker Shrieker and you
Mhm.
both are in like those running like Nike challenges things before. Like
Yeah,
so
yeah.
those kind of motivated me to start doing like more running and be more active a lot, which I think is interesting because I've never really put a lot of like focus on that area in my life, but I think like now is a very good time for that. And hopefully it'll become a habit.
Yeah, Shrieker's been running like 6 miles a day. Like this
Yeah,
guy's
yeah.
just grinding
Let's
on
go,
the
Shrieker.
Yeah.
like
Let's go.
everyone need to be watching out next year. Yeah. So, what do you guys feel like, so do you think the world is prepared for the next pandemic?
No.
No, no way.
No.
Yeah. Even though all the things that we have learned from Corona, I think there's like anything could happen, and I feel like we're just a little more prepared than we were, but definitely something could be a little more devastating than
I
this
think like
too.
Yeah, I feel like
oh
the next pandemic or like the next wave that'll happen, we'll be much more prepared, like, cause they know like how badly they handled it this time. So like, I guess that's
Hmm.
like a good thing
well, like
too.
my opinion is that there are very specific countries, like for example South Korea, who are good at learning from their mistakes and adapting to it because with coronavirus, they were very like ready for it to hit and they were good at contact tracing and like mass producing test kits. So they had it pretty much under control. But with countries like the United States, I feel like the way we learn things and adapt isn't as good as countries like those, which is why objectively as a whole the world is probably not ready.
I think
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
true.
only
true.
until we have like a vaccine, like something that can like determine how to cure like every single pandemic, and with the new technology, I don't think we're ever going to be ready.
Do you think we're gonna ever have this technology
Hmm.
like in a reasonable time frame?
I don't know.
I really don't think so because I was actually like looking at some stuff about like pandemics and stuff, and there is millions and like hundreds of millions of viruses out there, and obviously we don't have hundreds of millions of vaccines, so I mean I don't think we're ever gonna be able to get a cure for every single thing, but we can definitely find new like scientific ways to help stop a spread of a new pandemic
Yeah.
or
And
epidemic.
if that technology
Hmm.
does come out, I think it's like past our time.
Or maybe
Yeah,
Smaran,
that's
if you're
true.
smart enough, you can help develop it.
Just give me like 5 years.
Yes,
Give me like
yeah.
5 years. I got
Easy, easy. And what do you, and I feel like just talking about coronavirus is, what we wanted to do in this episode, but let's talk about just like something that's been popping up on the news or like the internet that you like. Obviously, there's like America's hurting right now with, the awful shootings and racism towards the black people in America. And obviously, I support the Black Lives Matter movement, and I think everyone in this podcast does too, and that's making a really big change in our world. But do you guys think of any other things that are like pretty significant to you that you've been looking at that you think deserves more recognition?
I think like to be honest, like I understand like the huge struggle with like Black Lives Matter right now, and I totally agree. It's a very very important like sort of issue that's occurring right now, and we definitely do need reform with our justice system and the way government responds to everything. But I also think people are sleeping on the fact that these small businesses in America are like suffering right now. I'm not talking about like the looting or anything. I'm just talking about like the implications of this virus. There have been like I think over 26 million people who filed for or who have been trying to file for unemployment, and it's like insane. If you've seen the news, there's like these huge lines of people, like or like lines around like blocks and blocks of people who are just trying to file for unemployment because they need like benefits from the government. But it's like it's actually insane how many people depend on like these small businesses, like they're employed there or they run a small business themselves. Like that's kind of a huge issue because America is always seen as like, or like the United States is always seen as like this area that's full of capitalism and like a place where everyone can succeed. But the result of that is that we have all these different small businesses that are impacted like very significantly by stuff like the coronavirus.
I think it's getting
Yeah.
better, like the amount of people that have filed for unemployment. Like I saw something last week that says it's getting better, but I still think it's like really
But it's still like really
Yeah,
bad.
because
Yeah.
only like the only it's only getting better because like a lot of it's reopening, but like some people are still like being
Mm.
safe and like their employees are not going to get. They're still out of
Just
files.
not to get too political on the podcast, but everything right now is happening is bad. But obviously, there's been other good news like the SpaceX launch. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just a lot of developments in our country that like technology wise that are coming. The new PS5 looks like
Yeah.
something out of a spaceship. If you guys
Mm-hmm.
seen it, and I mean, towards the end towards the end of this, we're nearing the end of this episode, and is there anything you guys want to point out, just want to talk about that are like that you guys want to say?
Yeah, one more thing I realized about quarantine, like the effect of quarantine, is like how pollution like went down drastically. So that's like one like
Oh
really
yeah.
good thing on the environment like as a whole.
Yeah. And okay, and it was really cool because like if you guys have never been to India or seen pictures of India, I feel like you could like just Google it up and just know what I'm talking about. But apparently like people were seeing like deers and stuff on roads, and that was just like kind of funny
And
coming from
in
me.
Venice,
So
like all of the canals and stuff.
like water's cleared up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so this is the end of episode 2, and I want to thank everyone if they made it here for list. Who is typing, my guy? Who was that? Y'all hear this too, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for listening. Oh my
Just
god.
get it over with.
All right. I want to thank everyone for obviously coming to the end of this episode, listening to 502 Perspective. Again, share and spread the word about this podcast.
This took way too long.
And I mean, it was cool. It was fun. I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
And obviously, first of all, I repeated this from the beginning, but thank you for the support from the first episode. We had a huge amount of listeners, and I just want to say I hope the number keeps on increasing. And today is June 12th, and I hope to see you guys soon. And thank you, and everyone
Bye.
want to say
Bye.
bye.
Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Thank you for having me.
All right,
Bye.
sure. See you
Okay,
guys.
bye-bye.